Right, it's 2 p.m. Central African time. A very good afternoon to you, and thank you for joining us here on Market View as we start a brand new week. We hope that everyone had a restful week, and we begin with two major developments today from the Eswatini's financial sector, both, of course, raising eyebrows, but for very different reasons. The first one, the Eswatini Building Society wants to become a commercial bank. It has said so, it has planned for it, but it hasn't happened. Now, as Letseho secures a provisional banking license, the question is very, very glaring. What is the holdup? Why has the building society's transition stalled? And what does that say about the regulatory process or the institution itself? We put those questions to the governor of the central bank, Dr. Philip Nisi. And let's just say his answers may raise as many questions as they settle. Meanwhile, on another story, a very different headline from the central bank. In Eswatini, a massive 160 million Malangeni investment is driving the construction of its new state-of-the-art complex. But what is drawing the real attention is who is building it. The bank is partnering with over 35 local SMEs that are organized into 5 joint ventures, now shortlisted to submit full proposals. Now, this isn't just about steel and cement. This is a strategic message that local business must not be left behind. And then we get into the heart of our program today, our Enterprise Watch segment, if you like, a summit with a name that commands attention, the Unlock Summit. Well, it promises to shift mindsets, it promises to spark bold ideas and ignite a new era of entrepreneurial action. But we want to ask the real questions today. What exactly is being unlocked? Who stands to benefit? And in a landscape already packed with panels and, let's say, glossy inspiration, what makes this one different? What makes it daring even? Joining us in studio, the coordinator himself, Thamsanqa Sibanze, is going to unpack the strategy, the vision, and the impact that this summit is aiming to make. Will it deliver more than just motivation? Will it lead to measurable change, the ventures, the networks, and bold decisions that actually move the needle? That conversation and a glimpse and what the next wave of business leadership in Eswatini is coming up shortly with Thamsanqa. So stay tuned for that. Of course, we have Saneless Bia to cap off the program. We look at what are the numbers telling us today in the markets from Wall Street. We look at Europe, we look at Asia, closer to home, the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, and of course the Eswatini Stock Exchange, but also our commodities and equities. You do not want to miss any of it. Let's start the show by looking at business news today. All right, on our first story, the Central Bank of Eswatini is partnering with over 35 small and medium enterprises in the construction of its new state-of-the-art complex in Eswatini, a strong statement of support for local business growth. Now, this was announced during the governor's media briefing held at the Central Bank at their new complex with over 160 million Malangeni that has already invested in the construction works. The CBE affirms that local companies will not be left behind.
When we have a Maswati, especially the smaller contractors, having these kinds of jobs and distributed, there is nobody there who has got, a specified, preserved allocation. It's through a competitive bidding process for the relevant class of contractors, service providers, and they get these jobs competitively, and they create employment, they invest in the country, and it is this way that we believe we are stimulating economic growth and ensuring that Emaswati are getting jobs. One of the things that we ensure working with the community here is that people are employed, and those people that are employed are Emaswati. And this is just on the ongoing projects. The mega project is yet to commence, and we are proud on how we have created the construct that says 30% of the ownership of that project is passed on to Emaswati. And of course, we need the international expertise and skills given the complexity and the magnitude of the project.
The Chief Operations Officer Mfanfikile Dlamini says a number of local small and medium enterprises have been engaged in the first phase of construction.
The CIC has graded their members, the contractors, the consultants. They are graded to certain levels. It helps us because once we identify the work, we are able to then issue a tender targeting a specific group. This allows us because you then make sure that the big guys are not competing with the small guys for small pieces. So small work, we give it to small guys, they compete amongst themselves. Those that get it, they get it. Those that don't get it, they don't get it. So that's why you will see that we have been working with quite a number of local companies. I think it's over 35 Eswatini companies that have been working on site. I think right now we have over 6, if I'm not mistaken, contractors working on site concurrently. They are not doing the same thing. Each one has got a specific scope. They've got their own timelines. These works that I've mentioned, we have spent, Governor, over 160 million. The bank has never spent so much money in construction. So we spent this money, 95 million of this is part of the works that we are seeing on site.
He has also explained more about the processes towards the construction of the new central bank complex, including the selection of 5 joint ventures.
The expression of interest, this process have been closed. We selected 5 joint ventures. All joint ventures have got both Eswatini companies and South African companies. Those are the 5 joint ventures which we then, on the 7th of April, issued with what we call request for proposals. The request for proposals has got a detailed specifications on what is it that we need for when we say for phase 1. It also comprises the draft contract that we'll enter into. I think we have mentioned in the past that the model that we're following is what we call a turnkey EPC model. It's not a traditional model that we have seen around the country. So we have taken this route because we thought that it carries more advantages than disadvantages. So we are now at a stage where we are handling the RFP is still an open process. The date of closing or submission is 1 August.
The governor of the Central Bank of Eswatini, Dr. Phil Mnisi, has said the central bank building in Mbabane will be used by the Supreme Court as an agreement with the Minister of Finance has been reached. He says the Minister of Finance will acquire the building at the evaluated price. For Market View, Nelson Langamandla, Derek Msibi and Vuminkosi Nzinisa, Ezulwini.
Well, the Eswatini Building Society has been in the process of converting into a fully fledged commercial bank, but their journey has been long and drawn out. Now, with the new provisional banking license granted to Letseho, questions are raising. What's causing the hold-up? We put that question to the governor of the Central Bank of Eswatini, Dr. Philip Nisi, to find out why the transformation is taking so long.
It has been an ongoing process and application. It required what we called a tripartite, Financial Services Regulatory Authority, the Ministry of Finance, and the Central Bank to ensure that the conversion is aligned with the membership. You will recall that building society is it's a membership. It's a society scheme. It's a cooperative scheme, so to speak. So there were some processes that they had to go through. They had to get approval from their members to accept that they are ready to become a bank, and that took a bit longer. So where we are now, so the delay has never been because of the central bank. We have been waiting for the application. Where we are now, they are re-looking, and we are waiting for the application anytime soon. because all the compliance issues, ticking the box, it's almost done. As soon as we receive the application, because we are very familiar with the operations of building society. In fact, we are actually even right now supervising them together with FSRA. So they submit their returns, we know their lending book, we know their deposits, although they are not called deposits, these savings that they collect. So we have a good history of them, and we believe that the application will become seamless. And as soon as they are clear on the type of a bank that they want to be, the central bank stands ready to do the due diligence and ensure that it's not just a handover, a handout. It's not going to be a handout. It will be a proper assessment using the guidelines so that we don't compromise the banking sector. And we also do not place the members or the owners of a building society at risk.
Yasin Bey. Get ready for a game-changing experience. After the break, we speak to Thamsanqa Sibanze. We speak the Unlock Summit after the break.
Eswatini TV has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Eswatini Communications Commission. We are committed to reporting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. For any complaints of our programming, please contact us on 2411-9600 or email info@eswatinitv.co.za. You can also contact the Eswatini Communications Commission on 2406-7000 or write a letter to ECCOM on PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Email address is info@ecom.org.za.
Welcome back. This is our Enterprise Watch segment now in conversation with Thamsanqa Sibanze, the coordinator of the Unlock Summit. Very, very highly anticipated summit that is set to take place on the 9th of July. And it promises to spark a wave of mental, emotional, and entrepreneurial transformation among leaders as well as entrepreneurs from all walks of life. But what sets this summit apart from all the others is the big question, the bold objectives that lie at its core, and he's going to answer us as we want to understand what promises to be a beautiful sort of conference summit. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mguni. It's always a pleasure to see you, hang out with you on screen and off screen, of course.
Pleasure having you here, man.
Absolutely.
Let's begin at the heart of it. You know, when you speak unlock, obviously, the general sort of idea is we are locked somewhere.
Okay.
We are probably, we listen to hip hop. Kendrick spoke about on To Pimp a Butterfly being locked in an institution and being institutionalized.
Yes, sir.
And you want to move from being a caterpillar into a butterfly. And I suppose that is what you're getting at here, that metamorphosization. Talk to me about it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, just to give you a bit of a background, the organization that is in the forefront of this movement, the primary function that we play is assisting individuals, teams, corporations, communities, and even at a country level to unlock their performance potential. We have a curriculum that is based on cognitive science, which is the study of the mind in terms of how the human being can move from 0 to 1 or from where you are right now in terms of your current location to where you want to get to.
Right.
What we have discovered over the years, we have about 15 years, operating in the space where we're working with Fortune 500 companies as well as the grassroots SME.
Right.
The one thing that becomes very glaring in terms of what stands in the way of the shift, the change, the growth is the ability to move from intention to action.
Right.
So when we speak about the Unlock Summit, we're saying, can we unlock the potential? Can we unlock the ideas? Or not even just the ideas, but the action that is required for the ideas to come to life. Because the ideas are plenty. You know this. If you go to the street corner right now and you go to the shop where the guys are sitting and smoking and drinking and having conversations, the ideas are flowing. But where do we get stuck? We get stuck oftentimes in that transition from intention to action. So at the Unlock Summit, we're going to be having those conversations to say, for the Eswatini context, where are we? What is our current reality? Where are we currently? What are the things that need to be in place from me as the individual, and then from us as a collective, for us to be able to move from where we are to where we intend to be?
I mean, the first question that you submit is, where are we? And I suppose the answer there is quite simple for people who are honest.
Yes.
Is that we are at a very stagnant position. We're in the doldrums, if you like. And, you know, you speak about, we have the knowledge, but somehow it doesn't translate into real action. And unlearning is a learning process. I suppose that is what is needed. We've been to class, people have PhDs, people have degrees, but you speak of mental, emotional, and entrepreneurial shifts. It's a big trifecta. How do you plan to, you know, sort of unpack that in just a few days?
So the way we plan to unpack that is, if you've been paying attention, our panel is has been built with that intention in mind. If you pay attention in terms of who's on the panel, you'll see that we're talking about people who have operated and currently operate in all of these spaces. So we've got obviously Vusi Tembegwayo, who's like the lead speaker on the day, but we've got Queen Nozizo Mulela, the managing director of Eswatini Bank. We've got Gniwe Fagutse, we've got Jabulile Mashama, CEO, managing director of Water Services. We've got Uncle Phil, who just came, who was just speaking now. We've got the minister, Savannah Mazia. We've got Muzi Siaya from Ubombo Sugar Limited. We've got Melusi Zox Dlamini, the curator and proprietor of A Peculiar People, and then we've got Mandla Cheeks Umalo. This lineup, I go to these kind of conferences and these kind of spaces quite a lot, but I haven't seen this lineup put up this way or configured this way before.
100%.
So that
you have it all.
That's exactly it. We're looking at the full spectrum of the industries, or the full spectrum of the conversations that need to be had all at once. And I usually love to say this. Sometimes we need to be having these conversations all the time at the same time.
Right.
Just like we did in school. You know what I mean? The reason why we all have the same outcome from a school curriculum is because we're learning at the same time.
Everything is linear.
It's linear. We're in that classroom at the same time. So right now, the way the world is set up, we need to be having these conversations. And I love something that you said, the conversations of unlearning at the same time. That's why Alvin Toffler says the illiterate of the 21st century are no longer the people who cannot read or write. The illiterate of the 21st century are those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn.
100%.
We are smack bam in the middle of our timeline as the human family, where we're needing to do a lot of unlearning of perhaps patterns and habits that worked for us yesterday. But for where we are and for where we're wanting to go, they are now 100%. The very thing that is standing in our way. So that is the conversation that needs to be had at the same time, where we're saying, how do we intentionally, collectively, intellectually, traditionally, and socially move forward? Not discarding our cultural wins and background, but how do we build on it so that it becomes the culture of tomorrow, that we are winners, that we are progressive, that we are productive, that we are people who don't just only have ideas, but people who implement ideas.
I saw the rapper and you came out there, so many rhyme schemes. But a lot of what you're saying makes sense, and I will agree with you. It's so carefully curated. I look at the lineup, and as you mentioned, all the people that will be on the lineup. I do want to submit. It almost sounds like, and you mentioned you've been to a lot of these forums and conferences.
Yep.
It sort of feels like, you know, the regular season of the NBA. And what you have done is you have put up an all-star team. And so I think that is going to be really, really nice to witness. But, you know, there are summits everywhere. I think we can agree on that. Panels, workshops, glossy brochures, we have seen it. But what makes this one different in terms of, you know, the so-called unlock effect, if you like, that you want attendees to walk away with?
And this is why I said I love having conversations with you because, you know, they say you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. If you ask stupid questions, you get stupid answers. This man knows how to ask the smart questions that will give us the smart and relevant answers. So what makes the Unlock Summit slightly different or head and shoulders above everyone else is because the key itself is an institution that operates locally and internationally within the space of habits and patterns disruption.
Okay.
At the summit itself, we're going to have the conversation to say, let's sit down and look at current status, dreams and aspirations, and then how do we get there? And then after the summit, what's going to happen is we will build a LinkedIn community where we're saying, how do we continue the conversation after the fact? Because, Sfiso, you know, even when you go to church on Sunday, when the preacher is on fire, the hallelujahs are flowing. Everybody's feeling moved, everybody's feeling amped up. But as soon as the last amen lands and we leave the church building, back to factory settings.
It's like the dust settles.
The dust settles. We're outside of the nucleus of the hype, and we go back to factory settings. So with the Unlock Summit, we're saying no. We're being intentional about creating a platform that is going to carry the motivation and the hype when the lights are out. When Vusi Tembegwayo has jumped on a plane and is gone back home. But he is still going to be a part of the community in terms of when you're a part of this LinkedIn community, you're going to get exclusive bites of Vusi just randomly going on his phone and saying, hey, hello, family. Today, if you're a part of the Unlock Summit, remember we spoke about this. I just want you to remember this bit about it so that we keep the momentum of the inspiration and motivation that's going to happen on the day going. Because we know for a fact that you cannot change habit with one event. It needs to be an intentional and perpetual process over time. So that is what we're committing to as the key who is bringing the Unlock Summit.
Love it, man. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Always a pleasure,
all the best with the summit. I plan to be there. I want to see how I can make myself available on the day. It's happening on the 9th of July.
9th of July, 2025 at the Mavuso Trade and Exhibition Center. We're encouraging everybody. There's so much excitement. There's been a spike in the purchasing of tickets just in the last, say, 48 hours because people are now just realizing just how much impact this thing is going to have for Eswatini.
In exactly 2 weeks, we will be there in that very room, the Unlock Summit. By the key, okay, I see what they did now. It's actually kicking in now. It's actually happening on the 9th of July. That is the Thamsanqa Sibanze, the coordinator. It was a modern poet from Compton who said the caterpillar is a prisoner of where they are. They're institutionalized, and we want to move from that. We are no longer on the outside looking in or on the inside looking out. We're in the middle looking around and want to make that perpetual. We have Sunny Lesbia in studio, ready to dive into our market analysis after the break.
Eswatini TV has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Eswatini Communications Commission. We are committed to reporting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. For any complaints of our programming, please contact us on 2411-9600 or email info@eswatinitv.co.za. You can also contact the Eswatini Communications Commission on 2406-7000 or write a letter to ECCOM on PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Email address is info@ecom.org.sz.
When you choose your adventures, you do so with an open heart. and a desire for the unexpected. You embark on journeys to discover new worlds, full of wonder. You choose a path to awaken your senses, a world to make you look up and realize just how inspiring this life can be. Arrive and awaken your heart. Explore life in ways only thought possible in your dreams. Discover just how far you go to expand your understanding of life's greatest mysteries. There's just one place on this planet with so much to offer. Now is the time for you to have the royal experience.
Well, some are proposing that we are already experiencing a world war, but perhaps it isn't. But Sanil Sibia is going to tell us, and I know it's directly affecting the markets. Right, Sanil?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Nxumalo. So markets are basically just waiting with bated breath to see what Iran is going to do after Operation Midnight Hammer. You know, that spectacular event, as some people would have it. So what we're seeing here is in the US, the markets are relatively just trying to hang in there because there's still a bit of uncertainty in terms of what Iran is going to do. So with the Dow Jones Industrial Average, the only one that's on the green right there, right? When you move across the pond, when you get to Europe, again, it's that issue of waiting to see what Iran is going to do. Are they going to choke the Strait of Hormuz? And we know that 20% of global oil trade flows through that strait there. So if we see that strait being blocked, then we're going to see the price of of oil spike up. And it's already now just approaching that 80 mark. Remember, just a week ago, before this all started, we're at $63 per barrel, but right now we're at $77 per barrel. So that's what markets are waiting to see. With London being the only exception there, because the growth figures came back, you know, relatively positive. Business seems to be picking up in London, so that's what the investors are relatively working on there. But it's still below the all-time highs we saw last week of 8,800 in that region. If you move to Asia, again, same story, with just Hong Kong barely just eking back the losses that they made in the previous session. So just that small correction while we're waiting to see what Iran is going to do. So everyone is waiting to see what that Iran move is going to be, right? And we do know, we've seen Russia come out to say, no, we're ready to supply the oil. So it's quite an interesting dynamic to say what's going to happen right now. But, you know, we can see Asia with the mainland also on the positive, you know, because we do know that the mainland is never shy to pour stimulus into the markets. So that's what we're waiting to see there. And, you know, this disruption somehow works to their favor because it takes away from this tariff issue and it just focuses the world on the oil price and this war and how it's going to affect the entire Middle East region. Coming into South Africa, we are barely just seeing some positives, Mr. Nxumalo, but it's just a marginal correction while we are waiting to see what Iran does, and then markets are going to react after that. But right now, it's just a small correction, but not going back to that 96,000 mark, which we're somehow equilibrating on in the previous weeks. So we're waiting to see that, and you know, gold is also losing a bit. And then when you come into the local stock market, we've not seen any changes. When you come into the commodities themselves, you can see that Brent crude is now trading at, say, $77 per barrel, right? So it's getting closer to that 80 mark. And, you know, most investors are worried what's going to happen when we get to that 90 mark and what it's going to mean for inflation across the globe and what it's going to mean for the moves that central banks were already making. We're just right now, you know, on that downward trajectory in terms of interest rates. But if that number continues to go up, Mr. Nxumalo, it gets closer to 80, gets closer to 90, we might see interest rates go up again because it might be a bit inflationary. And when you come into the currencies, what we're seeing there is, just mixed performance of the lilangeni in global markets. We see it weakening, continuing to weaken against the dollar because, there's a lot of hedging that's ongoing, but gaining a bit of strength against the euro and the Japanese yen because, everyone right now is trying to adjust and see how the Iran is going to respond, and, gold continues to gain a bit.
Thank you for your time. We are way past our designated time here, a minute after 30 minutes after 2. Thank you for staying with us. Have yourselves a good day. Bye-bye.
There were a couple of Israeli projectiles that hit a couple of buildings, but they did not cause significant damage. And the situation is under control. There is no unrest among the prisoners, according to the Iranian judiciary. As you said, the IRGC headquarters was targeted, and also the police headquarters was also targeted, which many, including myself, believe that it's an Israeli attempt at a regime change.
So, Saeed, what are people there thinking about now as all of this is happening? Are they even thinking about regime change, or are they just trying to stay safe?
Well, I think it's the latter, because right now, when you're being targeted left and right, you don't have